Welcome everyone to another podcast, Conversations with Anne-Marie. I am Anne-Marie, the Art of Healing. Today, my beautiful young guest is Alexis Rose. And we have met on a couple of occasions and over the internet, and she is an extraordinary, fascinating young woman. And she considers, and she says that she is a space weather therapist. And all I know is that I see her on social media discussing everything that is happening with the sun, with the planets. And we just connect on quite a few levels. So without further ado, I would love to welcome Alexis Rose to Conversations with Anne-Marie. Hi, darling. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. It's been coming for a while. I've been wanting to have you on for a while, and then just things were happening, but we finally have a chance to sit down and have a fun conversation. So we met a couple of years ago at an event that your husband Jace was emceeing, Camp Disclosure. And then we met again just a few months back in person at the Secret Space Conference in Grafton, Illinois. But in between this time, I just got to know you on social media, and we kind of have like this, I don't know, I just like you. I think you're adorable. And I want you to tell my audience or my followers a little bit more about your specialties and things like that. So hi there.
Okay. Well, let me absorb that love and thank you. And yeah, Camp Disclosure was fun. I had the whole kids crew then, and it rained and everything was as our best attempt could be, I think, in those few months after all of those like lockdowns and so on. So it was still fun. And I really liked it. I think about that place a lot. I'm like, I wish we could all just live there. Like, I want to go back and just take over. I liked it there. And what we've been doing since, and what I've been presenting on all that time, which is funny, is space weather. And I've been tracking the Earth resonances, or the Schumann resonances, as some people call them, and getting more into astronomy and learning the proper timing and the situations that the sun goes through as it goes through its cycles. And it has all these different experiences, emitting and receiving energy magnetically, electrically, all different spectrums of light, how they affect us, our brain waves, our hearts. I have a whole bunch of people following me now who check every single day what I'm saying, because if they aren't checking, they only check when they're uncomfortable. They only come check on me and check in with me when they're not feeling it, and when something screws up with their momentum, and then they're like, oh, I gotta go see Alexis, which is such an honor. And that's what I created, was that safe zone for people to be like, all right, today was not so cute. Why? And it seems like they always fall back into the interest or the study of space weather psychology in a way, because it seems to relate to their moments that they can't explain away as easily. And that's where I've stayed relevant as I've like trucked along this community, being like, yes, yes, yes. And I'm always here for you, watching the sun while you do what you guys are doing. And I'll be here like, and also I'm a practicing psychic medium too. So I'm channeling that information myself. I connect to all the galactic communities pretty easily, and all these people who are ancestors now of our community who aren't here or who are here. And, you know, people and beings walking amongst us that aren't really what they think or say they are yet. And in watching this becoming, even in myself and in you and in our groups of people that we watch like every day on social media, for some reason, we're just keeping tabs on these certain people. Like, it's like, there's just this, you know, there's this experience just on the threshold that I'm watching us all just kind of like, I would say, thrive through, honestly, compared to many. And like, it's a really inspiring thing to have that community there, so I can thrive in the moments I'm thriving and share that, and then also lean on people when I'm not thriving, because at least there is others holding the weight when you can't. And it's so nice. It's just been such a difference from how we experience things growing up and in the school system. And I wanted to go into teaching like you have in your past, because I wanted to watch over the children. I wanted to watch over this process, protect like 30 people, maybe at least at once, and help them achieve their own like actualized life. And now I've been able to just expand that so much more thanks to social media and be this like wacky young teacher lady, doesn't know what she's doing, made it a diary so she can't get blamed for anything. Like I do what I can and I'm happy to be there.
I
I'm
often
just
feel
having the
the
greatest
same
time.
way. I feel the same way. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it, and I'm doing it consistently. And I figure, that's cool. I
Right.
don't have to know everything. I don't have to like have a big plan. It's just one of these guiding urges
Yes.
spirit puts through you, and you're just like, no, I've got to do this video. I don't know why, but it's going to happen. And I'm just going to keep plugging away. And I think that's beautiful. Marvelous.
I feel you on that.
I
I'm
know.
glad that you feel that way too.
Yeah,
It is an urge. And
it is.
and then even after, I'm just like, okay. Sometimes I'm just self-conscious. I'm like, it'll go away in a second. It'll go away in a second. Like a new urge will come and I'll forget all about all that and keep moving anyways. So it's made it easy.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you become to be who you are today? Like, what was your childhood like? You said you were a psychic medium. How did that develop over your life?
It's nice now because it was one of the first things that came through as like a spiritual ability. Before now, I know all of these abilities. So the first one always hits you the hardest, I feel like, because there's less to compare to. But yeah, I grew up in Canada. I grew up where I watched all of these other people immigrate in, completely change everything. The planes start flying over us, things started getting weirder and weirder. Craft, and then my mom started being more vocal about her ET experiences and her visits, and since she was a child, and then I became protective, and then I began seeing them in my third eye. I saw grays in my third eye in my room, and I was like, because I'd been looking for them online because it was starting to come up, and I was in early high school, and I was just, okay, something crazy is going on. And we were watching all these documentaries about the system and how it was corrupt, and I was watching my parents, they're believing it, they're going, but they weren't making those like initiatory, like hard changes and those hard decisions. And I wondered about that, and it inspired me a ton. And then my grandmother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she taught me about immediately. It was just like all of a sudden we knew about people dying on the operating table, coming back, talking about the other side, the veil. So all of a sudden I was like, okay, there's a scientific way to get data about beyond the veil if you're working in the medical industry, which is cool. And then I learned about psychic mediums through Teresa Caputo, actually, who is like super famous.
Yeah.
And her boldness and her like extraness, which is something I wouldn't even embody to the degree that she does. But her example was so liberating, and I could see the people's faces and like true liberation and true love, like after they're just been a shell of themselves, losing this person they loved. And it was just like, I want to be that. That's what I need to be. And so I read like one book and about her, and I started opened my third eye, and it like started teaching me, reminding me what to do. And I started seeing animal spirits and like all synchronicities like right after that. As soon as I made that initiation, read the book, gave permission, it was like, oh. And since then, I've just been like helping people with that, crawling through all of the lies, and getting into the disclosure community was another like big activation. When I watched a show called Cosmic Disclosure, and it was just like 2 episodes in, I was just like, oh my God. And I just wept for like many days, being like, the old me's dead. Like she's gone. Like everyone's going to think I'm crazy. This is it. And it's still been like a lot of even just comprehending what that means even now. And that was back in 2016. So it's been a little while of that part, and it hasn't changed too much since then. It's just been getting easier to ground it in, make more sense of it, organize it, make it applicable, do events and so on, continue supporting events. I helped a ton of events and YouTubers and people in that community since I basically started, because I just I'm a cheerleader type person. I did competitive cheerleading for 6 years. I know how to deal with a group of people. I know how to make them successful. I know like what it takes, what sort of encouragement, what sort of pain it even takes, have to push through certain obstacles and push through what you think, what your mind thinks is possible. And I've got all that training, and I'm just passionate about being awake and aware and remembering past the amnesia and helping other people feel the veil is not so thin. Because after that recent car accident I had, it was so nice as a reminder, like, wow, the veil is just like so thin. It's so thin, and it's just this other world is just right beyond our skin, and it's so amazing and inspiring. And it's only just inspired me to be more knowing and more myself online, and just even more. I was like holding back before, so whatever.
That was such a shocker.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. We at Grafton, Illinois, at the Secret Space Conference, I was so excited to see you guys. I couldn't wait to see you. And then I heard that you had gotten into a very unfortunate, serious accident, right there, like right in St. Louis, right?
Right.
Like you were literally
it was just on our way there. We were
away.
just away. Yeah.
And you had traveled all the way from Sedona, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. And it was a shocker. But I just
Of
like
course.
Mama Bear kind of like kicked in. And as soon as I saw you, well, if you want to describe what happened, you're welcome to.
Yeah, you were like, sit down. We're sitting down. I got to cry. You got to help me push all that stuff off me, because it just been like, I just slept on it for like 6 hours, not even like, we barely slept and went to the conference because it was still like high on adrenaline, like had to go be around the people we went to see and just feel safe.
Mhm.
It was nice. I did feel much safer thanks to you. It was like, I'm an angel's coming to save me.
Well, I don't know. I just have like this motherly thing about with you. And I just think you're just the sweetest thing ever. I think we also connect on the blue avian level.
Right.
So I'd love for you to talk about your realm with them.
Sure. It was cool because after going into university, get a psych degree, and then going in to try and get an ed degree really quick to try and just like save the StarSeeds, because I knew about that. I knew about the wandering souls coming in. And then right after that, I learned about the Law of One, and I watched Cosmic Disclosure pretty quickly after that, and learned about the blue avians in the form of like guardians who were coming from a higher density, higher dimension, a much better intelligence, much more organized intelligence space, a guardianship role. And it just made sense to me. And also the golden triangle head beings, when he mentioned those in the testimony, I was just like, I know those guys so much.
Talk to me about that, because I've never heard anything hither or yon from them. I've not.
No, okay. They've visited me a few times. I've seen them in my third eye just show up like this big triangle head. And they showed me the letter X and the importance of the X, because it's like 4 triangles meeting, and it's a very strong shape. And that's why my name has an X in it. And it has something to do with like the strength, or like fortifying the guardianship or something. And I've just been like getting little pieces. I've had a blue avian also approach me in my third eye and just like look at me. And it's more personal. It's like, it was more like a mirror, but with the other one, it was like my own guide or something was looking at me with the golden beings, which is kind of how he describes it in the testimony. It's almost like,
do you know anything about those beings at all? Where they come from, who they are, what they were?
I want to say I do resonate that testimony and those beings have something to do with Venus, and then also beyond Venus, like where you go for expansion beyond Venus. And
I'm getting something on that. I'm starting to shake.
And then Jupiter and Saturn are also really important, because I think that's another main like gateway out or in of here. So it feels like that made sense. And they started talking about those areas. And recently, last time, they started talking about the Jupiter meetings and how all of that was going on, and we were having our family of like gathering event here in town during the same time, and like the craziest monsoons, and there was space engineering like clearly obvious on the like whatever radar that weekend too, and it was just getting crazy. And now we're coming up on that, you know, whatever they call that, I forget what they call it in the military term, where you like repeat a date or you come back on the date, but they use it all the time when they talk about Q and stuff. But I like,
I don't know.
my queen mind is like, yes, the military. Yes, we understand the military. Yes, we make sure the military is good. But sometimes it's like, oh, it's a delta. I think they call it, you come up on the delta or something. Maybe that's not right, but that whole thing was a part of it too. And it's just all these forces of benevolence are popping into my brain, wanting to be known and securing that feeling of like, we've got this, we're coming at it at all angles. You're going to meet all of our representatives in the community who understand more of our piece, and, you know, you'll get the picture, because it's truly like, I'm coming from all of this out of a protective feeling. Like I want to protect and serve and do my job and be a part of the affirmative action, not be just a standby person. Because it was just, I couldn't do it. I'm bursting. It's like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit back.
It's not in your nature.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in my family's destiny either. So I had to push away, because it was like, you're going to explode them like popcorn. And my friend says we pop them like popcorn sometimes. And it's like, do you want to do that? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but it wants to be consensual and not just like pressure. So I'm very sensitive about my aura, and I teach about that too, and teaching people when it's okay to move forward in their path and their mission, and how to take better care of those people even when you're away from them, and not lose them, but just expand more so they can grow, and tons of these things. But these characters, the blue avians especially, have been a big one. And now people know me because of them, and they will visit people in the flesh like a bluebird or whatever, and then people will think of me and message me about it. And it's like, it's one of those where you're like, okay, people are seeing it. I'm not in denial, because I thought I was literally crazy. I mean, of course you do. But
yeah, well, I'm part of a spiritual community called Channeling Jesus.
Great.
As I practice the lessons of A Course in Miracles, and that's kind of like my spiritual path right now.
Perfect.
And yeah, so Tina Spalding had an assistant named Carol Morgan, who I just had live last weekend.
Great.
And she was in a meditation, and this being approached her and said, you know, my name is Zena and I am a blue avian, and it's spelled Xina. So, and then another person in our community channels another blue avian being named Sholtal, which is another X. So that's
so that's checking out.
So yeah, so I mean, it's a part of my spiritual community, and then now I'm channeling Ra, and so it's like, well, here we go. The birds abound.
Yeah, I know.
The birds abound. And there's a lot of talk of, you know, if you think about it, even the Central American indigenous people, the eagle, even in the Mexican, the eagle and the snake.
Yes.
So there's always that competition between the birds and the reptiles. Woo! Okay.
I was handed a children's book even once about that specific thing, and I just loved it. And I read it so many times. It was like, it wasn't a children's book, but you know, and now I think about it, I'm just like, oh, I think I was being primed for this.
What children's book were you given?
I wish I could remember. I think it was like The Serpent and the Eagle or something like that. Like, and it was about two separate royalties in a way, as they do. Okay. One is like the bird people who, and they even had like feathers they would grow on their back, and they would like transform into birds and fly. And then there was the snake people who are in their other place. And then of course, like the royal children of each family, I think, find each other and try and fall in love or whatever. I think that was it. So of course it's about integrating, you know, the two the two strengths, and I'm all about that. And I never have too much resistance. I'm just here to make sure that all those who are predators and who are, parasites are getting the care they need, is the best way to put it.
Mhm. Indeed, indeed. And I think we have the complete ability to transmute a lot.
Yeah.
And because my philosophy has always been, you there's a lot of noise out there and it doesn't matter. What matters is my internal vibration. And if my internal vibration is high, then just by that fact, I'm going to lift the entire collective up. And I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it just for that, for that reason, for myself, obviously, because we have to honor ourselves first. We do this for our own selves, right? So that we live in as much peace and as much service to others, which garners multiple blessings back. You just get back so much.
Yeah.
So that's always been my thought about it. I want to ask you a question, because in the community, in our community,
Sure.
there are different people that come up and they serve their purpose. Okay. And there's a certain couple people in the community that are kind of rivaling right now. I'm just curious as to what your opinion is on how do you deal with the discord? Because I think you're very similar to me, but I want to hear it from your voice. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
It happens.
I kind of dove in head first and went into I had to go see, especially the testimony people who brought that testimony. I needed to see them in the flesh and grab their aura basically and be like, what is this? And if you physically contacted these ETs, then I need to contact them through you. And so I will physically be around you and get that contact, which was the logic there. And I don't know if everyone thinks that way, but I knew that's what I had to do. And I learned in so much information in that immediate engagement that I matured immediately, like tenfold. It was like a huge maturation that I needed. And I knew that. And that gave me a whole new perspective of what the community really needed in that moment and who I could be for them. And so it's been weird, because it's like you just had to be that medicine, figure out what the missing pieces are, and then okay, I can add this to the collective, and also here's the broken pieces I can see, so let me see if I can fix those with here's some words and here's some love in that direction, and it'll mend. And that's been kind of my style. And I just have this cheeky, I don't know, realization, when I see these characters, I'm not just seeing them in our reality. I'm seeing them on the multidimensional levels that they are existing and impacting the world. And as a guardian myself, it's like you have to also garner that, watch who is influencing the innocent, who is influencing the experienced, and what their motives are and where they're coming from. And is it in alignment with love and with life? And just being in that role, seeing and being shown a lot of these people who want these things, but have their own trauma, their anti-life trauma, that they're literally that's just getting pulled out of them through all these light beings they're attracting around them. It's just spraying all this crap out of them that has been pushed in them from all their generational trauma, just like the rest of us. And then we all go home from these events and have some type of breakdown or meltdown or feel despair, or our vibrational plummet. A lot of people who aren't experienced but do these events the first time, it's like a warning you have to give them. When you do this, you're not going to be the same. You're going to have a hangover from this, and don't worry, because that hangover is true love. And it's your heart really yearns to be with people who your heart resonates with, and that's a good thing. And it's going to change your whole life. It's going to make you stop lying to yourself, stop faking it, and do and make decisions now in order to be and work with the people you care about and resonate with. And there's people I still hold out hope for in the discording energy in our community, because I've seen their soul on such a naked level. So it's I have a playful hope for people maybe who are getting written off, because like you said, in a more maternal sense, it's like I have this maternal sense. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, the kids are going through it, but they're gonna make it. Like,
You know
we've got time.
what I always focus on is I'm not in a place of judgment. So
Right.
my spiritual philosophy is non-judgment. I observe.
Right.
I observe, and I try not to get into the judgment of like, oh yeah, forget this. No, because I'm looking through and I'm seeing the soul.
Right.
I'm seeing the goodness within everybody. And I say, okay, well, right now they're going through something, and I wish them well. I wish them well, but there's
And
no
time will serve.
time will tell. And it's not my journey. I'm on my
Yeah.
journey. I'm not on their journey or whatever. Allow it to unfold
Right.
and to just pull back out of judgment. We can every interaction is meant to happen,
Right.
right?
I agree.
And every interaction is meant to happen. And from each interaction, you're going to learn something, whether it's a hard lesson or whether it's a comfort or a joy or a yes, kind of that kind of feeling.
Right.
And I feel sad when I see people pointing fingers and knocking other people down. And that makes me sad. But at the same time, I'm just like, you know what? You're just providing my new word is choice point.
This is a
That's my
choice
new
point.
word. You're providing everyone a choice point,
Yes.
right?
Great way.
Isn't it though? You like, what choice are you going to make with this situation that you've got going on? What's the choice here? Are you going to react angrily? Are you going to walk away? Are you going to agree with it? It's a choice. It's just a choice, and everybody makes them.
Right.
But then again, but like I said, I try and not judge people.
Same.
They don't live with me. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't sleep with them. I don't live with them. I don't do their laundry. I don't cook for them. So it's.
They
all
don't have your phone number. Like,
it's okay. And then even if they did, I can always not answer.
Exactly.
You always have the choice. We all have
beautiful
choices.
thing. Social media has given us that as too. It's like we can get even more vulnerable with each other, but there's that extra choice point of space, immediate space. Like, oh, put the phone down. Boop.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, everything is a program, right? We're Pavlovian response to everything and bing and everything like that. You're like, wake up at 2 a.m. Somebody messaged me at 2 a.m. Let me answer. No, we don't need to, darling. You are in control.
Turn off your phone when you go to bed. Yeah. Oh, the Pavlovian. I feel so like lucky, and also it's twisted. Like I went into psychology in that state of innocence where I just learned all these things they learned and all these tests they did. And really all they did was just torment animals for years and years, and then people and just more people. And then they're like, oh, also Holocaust. And we're like, what? Like, oh. Then I got into all of the, black budget military things. And then it was like, okay, because that's where you go. Because that's where it all came from. Like, that's where the knowledge is. That's who wrote these books. Like, that's who's running the universities. It's all the same people, and they're only doing, they know who to pick, and they know who not to pick, and they know who to, like, it's amazing. And I've just had to catch up from like the pit. And now I'm like, I'm so glad to be on the other side. Oh, it's so glad. It was awful. Like, man, it's just misery programming, that school system. Oh my gosh.
It's so true. I have a young client who is pre-med.
Wow.
And she's been coming to me for quite a long time. I love her to death. And the messages that come through for her is that if she is open enough to come to someone like myself for help, she is one of these transitory beings that is going to go through the old system But then when they're out the other side, they're going to be able to say, now in my experience, I know X, Y, and Z as well. And I will
Yes.
take the benefit of getting this degree. I will take the benefit of it. But now that I am in the position that I am in, I'm going to move forward
Protect.
and integrate other modalities and
Yeah.
other, so there's a lot of these people, a lot of people that are in these transitory or transitioning kind of beings, right? Because there have to be
Makes
bridges.
sense.
There have to be bridges between the old earth and the new earth. So they're all coming online. You're one of those beings. You've gone through
I
this.
love my bridge.
Yeah, I'm one of those beings. We've been through the programming part and we've come out the other side.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's awesome and beautiful.
And there is another side.
There is another side. There is another side, and it has yet to unfold. So
Yeah.
let's consciously create something fantastic. Let's do that. Why not?
I'm into it. I feel you. I'm on it. I want it. I'm like, let's make my bridge the best.
Absolutely.
Let's make it the funnest bridge, as I'm sitting on the edge of it, watching it like still make its way. Like, wow.
I know. We're still walking across.
Yeah.
Walking across. So talk to us now about this solar weather, Schumann resonance, really this, and how does it affect us, everyday Joes that don't know anything, and us that we are attuned and open to, universal light codes, energies, all these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's about as easy as knowing how the pressure, or like the air pressure of the day, causes you to have a little and people used to watch that, like all the old people have, they're like, oh, the pressure's high today, like it's gonna hurt. And that's like the most basic level of that understanding now, and knowing the temperature outside. It's all involved, but it's the most closed-minded and close by situation, and the expansion that's being pushed by modern science as well, to go to space, to discuss space and what's out there and how it operates, is being pushed and forced and molded and into the collective mind at a rapid pace now. It's getting there. It's every single day they work on it, on people. They don't just like let up anymore and let it go for a couple years or months. It's like they push it every day. It's happening. So now even the solar weather is being discussed, and how the levels of danger it can pose to our technology, our satellites, and all those things. But it's cute to me, of course, that they can talk about all these dangers after they keep doing it after years of experimentation. So they've clearly figured out some solutions, or else it would not be working, and they would not continue. So the advancement of technology, which of course now I've done a ton of research in, and it's immense, it's incredible, not only technologically, but then into the spiritual side, where you could basically travel through the portal of your heart and the portal of photons, like back into the space-time versus time-space, and learning all these techniques and understandings of the flow of energy, basically. And the space weather is a flow of energy that's very logical. It's like grade 2 versus like grade 1 or something, of how the energy is filtering down to us in this hologram, in this experience. I think we did project out of the sun as souls and like embed ourselves into a person, or like into our parents. And that's sort of how we came through. So I think the sun is our initiation spot, where we kind of chill, and then we come out and we come land onto our planet, become born into this planet as like a living photon, have some time, and then our shell decays, our earth shell decays, and our photon like passes on, or something like that. So we're just watching more photons and light come in on these schedules, and basically impregnate our earth, impregnate the solar system with this life, has been so moving to me, because at first it was very uncomfortable, which showed me that I was out of resonance with nature, which shocked me, because I was like, how is that even possible? Again, learning the artificial web of technology we live within. It was an artificial energy. It was not the normal environment that we were supposed to be in. So I had to separate from that artificial environment enough by studying the organic environment the best I can, despite all of the disinformation about what the sun is, what the earth is, what space is, which was so funny, but it had to be intuitive. And that's why being a psychic medium was like, first it was aliens, then it was like, oh, we'll take a break. Then it was psychic medium, oh, we'll take a break. Then you're a psychologist, oh, we'll take a break. Then you're a teacher, oh, we'll take a break. And now you're an alien and you got to be the galactic guardian that's moving through the like ascending earth, and teach them about light and teach them about the mechanics of how we work, how a soul works, how our light bodies work, how we get charged, how we're getting purged, how we're changing and mutating. And it's just been so fun because it really only seemed like the only thing that mattered after that point. And our brainwaves are pretty much completely dictated by the resonances of our planet, because it's so much bigger than us. So it's great for the ego. It like can shatter the false ego in a gentle way, in like a productive way, because there's something bigger. There's a way bigger ego, the sun in the sky, literally conditioning our whole existence. So, get with it, get with the program, listen, guide yourself, work with the solar cycles. And that's sort of what the earth religion used to be, the most basic stuff, seasonal basically, and tracking the other stars because they were also doing stuff to us, and they're just a little farther, but people noticed. They noticed because there's no other distractions. All of a sudden there's a change, and they're seeing this new set of stars come up the horizon. Oh, must be that. Like, it wasn't too hard, I feel like, to be like like discern these changes.
Right.
But we've had so much attempted distraction during this time for soul growth that it's like you have to claw your way out of the false netting to just feel the true sun on your face and feel the earth's resonance in your heart. And I do now, and I feel it, and I love it, and I'm still working through the kinks. And of course there's more and more and more and more. The more powerful the sun gets, the deeper the stuff can like purge out of you comes from.
So where are we in terms of human resonance right now? Like, wasn't
Fascinating.
supposed to be around seven something?
It's
Explain that.
7.83.
Uh-huh.
It's what they say is the average, but all of the psychics, basically, like people who are in like no idea how the science works either, they're all channeling that vibration is supposed to pump up. It's supposed to go faster, just slightly. I think it's supposed to go up to an 8. I've seen it go up to an 8.8 on their Russian information as the max. That's the highest they'll tell me.
It's
that is in power behind the frequencies. So like how fast the rotations per second of this, like, of our planet basically's resonance, and then how loud is that versus if it's being loud in a different frequency, which means it's going even faster. So I've seen it do both. I've seen the normal frequency get super loud without changing, and then I've seen the frequency go up a little bit and get super loud. So it's almost like, again, like you can see there's almost like 2 dimensions or 2 layers of existence maybe, happening at once as well, because I've seen it kind of pop between those 2 worlds, and they're very close. It's almost too much for me to accept, though. Like, I tread lightly on that topic because my logical brain's not quite there, like with the proper sentence to be like, yeah, this is how I feel.
But don't we believe that we're bifurcating, we're splitting, we're expanding. So it seems to me like what you just explained was the old earth and the expansion into the new earth. So the vibration is popping out. That sounds to me like what you're explaining.
It sounds to me like what I'm explaining also. And it's like, even talking to you about it, I'm like, yeah, because I've been seeing it. I'm like, okay, a lot of people are saying it's like,
just little expansion,
just a little faster. And when it does get like that, when the weather or those frequencies do get amplified, like there's way more power behind them, the earth gets louder. I just like function. I'm finally functioning in life. I can go out, go to the grocery store, go out, talk to people, random strangers even. I'm like, all good. Like, I have plenty. And otherwise, I feel like I'm waiting. It's like, like you said, I'm from the new world, and I'm sitting in the slightly older world, and we're just
Right.
like pulling them together with a bridge, like you said. And
Did you go through a period of integration into your cellular system? Because I remember like about two or three summers ago, I I could do nothing.
yep,
My body said, nope, couch, boom. That's it. Like all the great projects that I had to do when I was still teaching. And I knew, because in our community, we talked about it, that we were just integrating the light into into ourselves.
yeah,
And it took a little while for the body to adjust. So these ascension symptoms, right? You've been hearing about these, right?
I do.
So did you experience anything like that at your,
Yeah, a ton. And it continues still to this day. It's just like you said, there was those times where you physically are going through something you know is different
Mhm,
from your old pattern, and it kind of breaks your pattern, and you become different after. You're not the same.
mhm,
And I like to say it is. Some people were saying even just yesterday and the day before they were having it, and the flattening, we call it, because you have to get flat. You have to get down, laying down, not moving. You get super, super heavy. A lot of people end up on their floors and can't get up. Like I sat on my
yes.
floor for
Mhm,
3 days straight at one point around this time, like I don't know, 2017, 18, something like that. And I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I got push my physical body onto the ground. And it was like my spirit was trying to leave. And it was like I was expanding out of my body, but my body was super heavy.
mhm,
And I was really wondering, what's the plan? Like, am I going to leave? Am I going to stay?
mhm.
Is this going to be just 3 days? Because I did get the prophecy, days before, they always just shove it in there like 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. And you're like, whatever, 3 days, don't know what that means. But then an occurrence will happen.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I've had those
Oh
moments.
yeah, that's what you were talking about.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I'm not even hungry. That's amazing. And then I learned all these things. I got all these downloads. It was like they were walking around my house while I couldn't move.
Mhm,
And my upper frequency, higher frequency entities that I work with, my guardian angels and stuff, my guides, they were just walking around, banging stuff around. Like I was thinking they would bang something. So I'd be like, okay. And I was writing a ton and getting a ton of that stuff figured out. And since then, I haven't had one that intense, except for after leaving East City
mhm,
once. And I noticed that the change in frequency leaving that area was so drastic that I was like popping out of my body too. And I was having a really hard time. So we had to like pull
mhm.
over, and I had to like pray and like be like, don't take me. Like I'm trying to stay.
Wow.
I see this like energy from the sky being like, calm down, like you're good, like get
Mhm.
back in your body. You've got way more to do.
Oh yeah.
And that's usually the message is like, have your fit. It's not gonna last. You're gonna keep going. And that's what I've been
I
doing.
I had an experience with a client where described a lot of what you were going through, and what they said was, imagine that the light is coming in and going through all your chakras, but hooking down into the root. So you're always anchored into the root, because if you're always in your upper chakras, it's
Right.
really hard. It's very, very difficult. And we're here in the physical body to experience the physical we are physical beings. We are in this density. And so we have to be able to anchor and integrate all that light into this density. And so that was like what the advice was for that particular client, which I found fascinating.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
had to have similar chats with my clients.
Mhm.
It's funny. And it throws people off, obviously, to experience that change, but it does come in coordinates with the solar weather. All
Right.
of it's working. Like the logic of the downloads, like the sun's going to do it, then you're going to feel it, and the world will be different. And I've just been watching it in like little doses mostly.
Do you think we're going to have that solar flare, that
I,
solar flash? What are your thoughts on that?
I assume there's going to have to be one strong enough to satisfy people's brains, because it's been this anticipation. And when I did hear about it first, it was like, I knew that's why I made this channel. I was going to track it. I was going to be like, well, if we fry, I'm going to track everything up until then, like,
Right.
might as well. And yeah, now those prophets who were saying those things, propheticizing those things, they have grown, they've changed. They're realizing what I was told, which was they're going to slow it down into doses. So it's going to be small doses. And eventually we will also just work up our, what's the word? We will work up the ability to withstand more.
Our tolerance.
Tolerance.
Of it.
And so it's like we're getting our tolerance constantly worked with. It's like I'm watching True Doctors work sometimes when I look, because I'm watching the doses come in and then I'm watching the breaks, and how it's like there's not a day that's being missed. It's very much like every hour, every moment is being filled with those doses just to make it as most efficient of us to shift as possible is what it feels like. And people get upset because they're uncomfortable. But then as soon as people really start getting upset, I'll watch them take it off. And it's like the pressure comes off and then everyone forgets about it over like just a couple days. They forget, and then boom, and it'll come in again in a new dosage and people are back. And it's cool. And I think X-class, they've told me about X-class flares multiple times. It's a real flare. These are normal. We had one in March, I think, that they told me about that night, an X2. I watched X-Men 2 that night during the movie. So it was very much like there's mutants coming. They're going to have abilities. It's going to be, these are another part of this thing is you're going to be mutating. You're going to be changing. You can operate on different frequencies in a different dream, basically, with this level of energy that we're slowly getting back to. And also, I think CERN was like driving our planet back into the proper timeline and like in alignment with the sun better. So it can go into a more organic cycle and system again. We had like fallen from grace, like we had fallen from an organic way. And that's why all of us were born. So we could just be like, no, and drive it back.
That's right.
It feels like just being like, sorry about that. And gently drive us back into the lines as our drunk drivers just like was swerving off the lines, it felt like. And yeah, I can't wait. I think it is going to be an X-class flare. It's probably going to have to be bigger than an X2. And it'll probably be more so they'll make the news about it. And that's how they're doing it more. It's like the collective conscious.
I'm seeing a lot more in the news.
I'm
seeing a lot more. Yeah. X-class solar flare heading towards Earth. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. That wasn't normal. They weren't doing that before. And we have until 2025, they told me. Like that's, I think that's the peak of the solar cycle. This peak of solar cycle 25 is 2025 and 25, 25, 25. It's very much a repeating thing for, I guess it's our quarterly shift. Like who knows, you know? And they do talk about that with the larger time calendars and things, and I've tried to pay attention to those people and how they explain these cycles, and it really feels like we have a ton of people from a bunch of different timelines and different belief systems that are trying to explain how they got here and what's going to happen next, but it's from all different perspectives, and some of these things have already happened, I think, and they're processing the trauma of stuff that's already happened to them, but it happened so fast they just can't they're doing it now, and our son's triggering that memory or something is another possibility. But I don't want to focus too much on the sun because the earth needs help too, but I feel like the earth is nothing without the sun either. Like none of it really exists without the sun pulling it and giving it life. So it makes sense. I want to know about the binary star of our star too, like if that exists and what's up with that, because that's also confusing. And the confusion about our earth plane and if what shape it is and how it works and all of it, it's just so sad. Like it's hard to do this work when there's so much. It's literally the most amount of confusion about this most basic thing. And it's such a funny time, I feel lucky. I'm like, I want to incarnate now and make sense of the most obvious thing ever and feel smart about it. It's just dumb. It's sometimes I feel embarrassed. I'm like, why am I talking about this? This should be the easiest thing to know. I'm like, it's like I'm explaining how to grow grass, like, or like make some bread, which I can't even do. So
we are so very distracted by so many things. And there is information and disinformation. And
Right.
then, you know, I don't, all I know is that I just don't know. Just don't know. All I know is what's in here
Yeah.
and what makes sense to me in here. And I try not to go into judgment, but sometimes it's hard, but I try not to do it.
But this place needed some real guardians.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the cliffhanger too, was like, oh, there's new guardians. And it was like, who are they? And it was like, it's you, you know? That was
Yeah.
the cliffhanger, was like,
Mhm.
whoever thinks it's them, it's them. Like, it's the consent of it all, the free will to take on such a role, of course. But when you're born to do it, what else do you do?
Yeah. Can't you sell houses, you move places, how,
Yeah, exactly.
when you're on a mission and it unfolds in front of you, you make very radical changes, and you do it because you know it's the right thing, not because it's the easy thing, but you do it because you know it's what the universe has. And we live in such a benevolent universe. It wants
Yes.
us to succeed. It sends us every opportunity to increase in abundance and love and frequency. And again and again and again, it's just a matter of us being able to release our egos and just sit back and say, okay, let's see where this wave is going to take me. And I think that, you have made a beautiful example of that philosophy.
Thank you.
So it's
Maybe
beautiful.
it's just our bluebird way. Like,
It
I don't
must
know. It
be. It
must
must
be.
be. So what about the whole concept of light and Christed light? Because for me, I came out of Christianity, out of Catholicism, and it was all about the light of Christ. And we're dealing with duality, right? We're dealing with structures that provide beautiful things and also provide really horrible things. So, what do you think it means to embody this Christed light? And does Jesus resonate with you? Who is he in your world?
I think it's so easy in a way to embody what you already are, which is kind of nice. Like, at the logical side of my brain goes, well, you can't create or destroy energy. So if it's in me, then it's there and it's real and it's happening. Like, I'm alive. And so that helped. And just to say that I am God, just knowing that sense, not in an egotistical way, but more as a way of like inclusion. Like, I am God. I am, I am a piece.
The I am presence. Absolutely.
And that just illuminated this feeling in my chest when I first said it, which was, I swear, it was a while. I was like, it was 2014. It was a while ago. And I had never really said it that way before. And I had grown up with Christianity. I had learned about Jesus, Mary, Joseph. I went into Catholic school for a little bit, got that too, like that angle. And I've spoken their names, and I never had too much of an experience with them other than just comforting, knowing that they come around once a year and you can see them and you're like, those are some real good people. People think those are good people. So, but the What Would Jesus Do bracelet I had as a kid was the first one. I was given it in church and then was like, what does this mean? What would Jesus do? Okay. And then I'm like watching the adult give it to me, do something not kind immediately after, and was like, this is your teaching, you're teaching me this, but you're not, like, how as an adult are you not capable of this? I feel like this is not hard. Like, what would Jesus do? Oh, that's probably a loving answer. He would probably choose to try and do the loving thing no matter what it is. So just to hand out bracelets and then, I don't know, ignore the children's needs and things and all these things right away was throwing me off. And now embodying the Christ light is knowing that, what would Jesus do? Like, you could make those decisions yourself. The choice point, like you were saying, like at choice point, if you're having a problem, what would Christ do? or someone like Jesus, it doesn't have to be him, but whatever, that type of person. What would they be like? What would they choose? And that's helped me a ton in also discerning who and what I don't want to be around with other people, just showing me who is not making those decisions, who is not making those considerations. And unfortunately, it's a very common path it is the fallen from grace sort of path to not act in those ways, not act in grace. And it was heartbreaking to see that world. And I just pushed onward, hoping I would find people who also got it. And I did. Thank goodness. And that faith worked out. And now I have other people who know and understand Christ in their own ways and beautiful ways. And they tell me amazing stories, like how Christ has shown up to them and so on. Because some people are a little more thick and they need a really amazing experience just to be like, wow, and make an impact. And some people are super sensitive and they just need to hear like the word Jesus like once. And they're like, oh, that's me. Jesus saved me. And you're like, okay, great.
Well, it's the embodiment of the Christ
Right.
light. It's the embodiment of the Christed energy. And we are all potential Christed beings.
Yeah.
So it's just like, how would a Christed being act? Would a Christed being point fingers? Would a Christed being insult people? Would they get jealous? Would they, so that is our point of discernment as well. So we look at people in our community and we just, without judgment, and everywhere, and without judgment say, okay, well, they're experiencing their incarnation, and they're going to have their the results of their actions will flow back to them. So
absolutely,
you got to kind of trust the universe in that. We said it before. It's we live in a benevolent universe that loves us, and it loves us enough to bring our actions back to us.
Right.
So hopefully for our growth and expansion and education, right?
I do. And sometimes I see the things done and I'm like, oh, that's going to come back and that's going to be sucky. Like I already feel for you on that one.
And the sun coming to us, the sun is filled with codes.
Yeah.
The light codes, right? That is actively upgrading us, actively upgrading our DNA, so every day. And you go out, you look at all that they're trying to tell us not to do, don't get in the sun, cover your eyes. I even heard that you're not even supposed to wear eye covering because your body reacts to the amount of light that comes in and will automatically adjust the melanin in your body, not just through exposure, but through
your eyes,
through the ocular nerve, right? Cool. What are those fancy glasses you wear?
I got those. They're cycling glasses and they are meant so I can deal with the extreme UV when I'm riding our bikes out in the desert, basically, because it does get very intense. And also to avoid rocks, maybe from cars smashing into my eyes.
I mean, there's that. You need to protect your eyeballs.
I would like a whole like helmet. That would be fun, but those are definitely more expensive and the glasses were cool. And purple, I rarely see them in purple. I really had to search and find the purple, but they are in a way a signal, I want to say, to the Galactics is what I want to say. It's this playful space girl, like also kind of dragon-like energy, and it helps me also get that psychic protection in those very short clips that I do, because I want them to go more out to strangers in a way too. So to get that psychic protection is more about, instead of projecting into me whatever they're feeling, it seems like the glasses allows it to just bounce back and be more of their problem. And I like the idea of having my eyes open and exposed and sharing the light codes, which is why I go on camera. A lot of people choose not to do that in our community too. Like they'll just do voiceovers, a lot of channelers. And it was...
Oh, I'm always on camera. I'm too...
about all of it. Yeah.
I like it.
I
I'm a
know.
ham. I like it. I like the camera.
That's good. The glasses have helped me be more of a ham sometimes too.
Yeah.
And it helps me focus too, just to get that one sentence out in the little videos I do
Mhm.
for Wisdom Wednesday, which is
You do,
today.
yeah, you do TikToks too, don't you?
Yeah, the TikToks and reels, and I
Mhm.
just try and see which one picks up the most and gets new organic eyes, because there's a lot of seeking young people out there who are
Yeah.
using these apps, and I'm just on the edge of that where
I just
I
started doing TikTok as well.
yes, I love your TikToks.
Yeah.
They're needed.
I think so. I think they're needed. I always call it you're negotiating with the darkness. Every time you do something, it's a negotiation, whether it be in the banking or food or whatever you do. When you buy a car, you're negotiating. Everything is a negotiation with the darkness. So you've got to just shine your light. That's all you can really do. Now, do you connect with the dragon energy as well? Because I
Yeah,
connect with them too, and the whale energy. I
I
forgot to ask
know.
you about the whale energy.
Big time both,
Oh
especially
man.
after the accident. It's been very much like the
Yeah.
dragon, especially, was huge for me to integrate it as my own instead of just
Yeah.
as a somebody I was talking to. It was like, no, that's your, I was like, okay.
Mhm.
And the whales too, it's like I have a whale version of myself in a way too that I connect with.
Mhm.
And the space whale, and it was in the Thor Love and Thunder movie too. They flew past some space whales, and I was like, that
Did
was for
they
me for
really?
sure.
Oh, I've got to see it now.
It was it was so good. It was
I
more so, I'd say, on the feminine too. It like pushed more into the feminine realm, the film. Uh it passed the Bechtel test even. I watched them do that scene. I was like, ooh, that was painful. But they did the scene where it's just two women talking about things that are unrelated to a man. And that's like the one signifier in a movie that it's female balanced. And I watched that
Oh,
scene, and
okay.
both of them were just like, ooh, like it was the worst scene. Yeah. It's so funny with these movies. They try.
How do the whale energies work with you?
They're great. I mean, the Akashic Records is a big one. When I
Ooh.
was first, like, I think one of my first sessions I had with an Akashic Records reader, and she was trying to tell me right away that Archangel Michael and Gabriel and Raphael were standing with me and were laughing at my questions. And she was laughing at my face, and she was laughing at me. And I was 17, and I was just like, this,
Oh.
or 16. I was like, this woman is mean. Like, I'm embarrassed because I'm like, yeah, you see the angels, but I'm not seeing anything. Like, give me something, lady. I just paid you money. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're just laughing in my face. Now I get it. I get it now, because she was just like, this kid has no idea what she's about to break open, and I didn't.
Mhm.
And yeah, that it was always about the Akashic Records. Tap into the records, Alexis. Do automatic writing, Alexis. And I didn't know what that meant, and I tried it, didn't get it. But I think it is because I crave the knowledge, and I crave sharing the information and spreading it and swimming around and holding space and being mystical and huge.
Awesome. I was driving to a what was it? Some big expo in Philadelphia, conscious life expo or something. I don't know. I don't remember what the name was, but I was driving to Philadelphia because I was going to see a channeler that I followed at the time, and Laura Eisenhower was there. It was the weekend after Dimensions of Disclosure. It was
Oh,
that following weekend, and I was driving there. And when I drive, I get into this, you get into a different zone,
yes.
and I start making these noises.
Whale noises.
Whale. And I turned on the recorder and I just start recording these like these. Oh, I
That's
couldn't
fun.
believe it. And it was just coming out and coming out and coming out. And then as soon as I walked in, what do I see but this woman with these mystical paintings of whales and dragons and dolphins. And I actually have one of her pieces here. Yuck. And I just dropped Jesus on the floor. Darn it.
That's okay.
So now you get to see all the crap that I hide behind my body. I bought this from her.
Awesome.
Her name is it's Dreams of Star Dolphin.
Perfect.
And,
Great name.
and she was, and I played it for her, and I'm like, this was for you. And and I have a beautiful picture of Metatron that she drew. And the original painting of Metatron that she drew is in Mount Shasta at somebody's home. So it's like, I don't know, but that's, and then they've come to me again a couple of times. And I also communicated with this guy who's a guitarist in Canada. He's in the community. He's with Sue Walker, like, goodness, I can't remember his name.
I don't know if I know.
I can't remember his name, but he's on Facebook, and I contacted him. I heard him being he's like a StarSeed as well, and he gets visited, and
Right.
and he's a musician, and I sent him my recordings because he was into he communicated with the whale beings as well, and he like thought they were fantastic, but I haven't spoken to them in a long time, or they haven't reached out to me in a long time. I don't know. I guess I could
Well,
try.
now they will, because I feel
I hope
like
so. I miss them.
that's who I've been rolling with lately.
Yeah, I was told that my I am, part of the whale tribe, and that one of the reasons why I am so maternal,
Yeah.
because I identify with the whale tribe, and that whenever I feel like my human mother does not give me what I really need, all I need to do is tap into my whale tribe, and I will receive that motherly, loving acceptance that I don't necessarily get from my earth mother. So
Yes, I've had similar advice, but it's just been like the whole planet. Just let the planet be your real mom. And I was like, okay. And the sun is your old dad. And I was like, okay.
oh,
That makes me feel better. And they're like, yeah, we've done this a bajillion times. We got you, kid. I'm like, yes, thank you. It's a good feeling. I feel you. And the whales too are now just like want to hang out. I want to be with them. I want to be closer to the ocean. I want to hang out with them more. I feel more comforted with their energy too. I feel you so much on that.
I need water in my life. I need to be around water. And you're in the middle of the desert. So how do you
very weird.
That?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. You make
regular trips to the oceans? Because I used to have to do it every year. I'd say, no, my body needs to get into water, and I need to do it in an ocean. And I would make trips every summer.
I'd like to make such a trip. I would like that very much. Very much. If anyone's listening, please take me.
When I get back to Florida, you come over to my house.
Thank you. Okay.
And I'll hook you up with water. We'll
Good.
Do like that.
Thank goodness. Yeah, I want to, but our travel, and it's been what's the word? Reliable?
Mm-hmm.
It's been an unreliable vehicle. And so doing that trip is like 8 hours. So I'm fine with it. This vehicle, she's happy. If I have to walk there, I guess, I don't know, but it's getting crazy lately.
Do you travel in the air? Do you fly?
I love to. Yeah. Flying it's so lately at the last flights too, it was another layer of like, this is crazy that we do this, but I still like it.
It's so funny. When I first started to channel, I channeled light language first. And then when I first tried channel English, I say channeling.
Yeah, exactly.
I was still kind of like into drinking and a little bit of excess stuff, and I was in the airport and my flight was really delayed. And so I was at the bar and I was drinking. And so I went on the plane and I was all nice and happy. And I started to watch Avengers Endgame or whatever with what's his face.
Yes.
Where he destroys everything. And it goes
Thanos.
But he's with Thanos. That's the one. And I'm sitting there bawling. My eyes are like, they're all gone. It's just so wrong. They're all gone. And then I hear in my head, I was like, is this, what did I say? I forgot what I said. Something about like, is this real or whatever? Is this, you are sitting, and then here in my head, something to the fact like, you are sitting in an aluminum can and you think that is safe. You have no idea what is real or not real. And I was like, you really think that it's okay to get on an aluminum can and travel in the air the way you do? You have no idea how easy it is to get, you're so far behind everything. And it was just kind of like this, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
It's embarrassing. And I'm like, well, what else do we do? You want me to drive everywhere?
I know. It's like, well, okay, then let's drop some tech. So we can do things a little bit more fun.
Yeah, it's not like I'm being the stubborn one in this situation. Like,
yep.
I'm open. Give me the better stuff. I want to be there faster.
I feel like our ET family is just looking down at us. You guys are just playing. You don't know what you just don't know.
Right.
And we're like, what can we do? We do what we can. We do what we can.
Yes, we do. Yes.
So please tell us where we can find you.
Sure. I'd love to invite anyone to check out my website, ascensiondiaries.com. Easy peasy. I also am very active on Instagram. I'd say #1, and Telegram #2, YouTube #3, and I have a Patreon group of people who I'm growing. I've got like 62 out of 500 people is my goal. So far, the goal's growing pretty steadily, and joining at any amount, and that's just more of a direct connection. And so the link tree I'll give you for this video, you just have to go there, and all the instructions and all the steps to connect with me and weave yourself into my life have all been put there, and all the resources I follow too are all in there. Some coupons for Shilajit, like there's so much stuff and people too, like to get through this and the medicine and the support you need sometimes, especially with sensitives. It's taken a lot to know what people need and then show up for that and collect it properly. But I'm ready, and I'm so ready, and I'm feeling great. I'm feeling so optimistic about how following my own heart and my own inspiration on how to serve the world has worked out, and it has expanded and it's been accepted, and people are caring about it. And now people are blossoming and budding off of that the safe spot I've created for people. And that's just like, oh, it's like it's just the best feeling. Like, it's so worth it. I'm already a very happy elder, it feels like, in a way. And I'm just like I'm now feeding the next generations. Like, okay, let's do this. Like, oh my gosh, next generations are so exciting.
You're pushing your chicks out of your nest.
Yeah. I'm ready. Like, go be cool. And the cool things that they're doing and the star systems and stuff they're connecting to, and like so much more, is different than mine too, some of them, but we connect so closely. And that's the ambassadorship that potentially we're connecting with also, and all these other ambassadors and so on that need that confidence again after being amnesiaed like everyone else, to do what they're supposed to do. And some are so gentle and sweet and sensitive compared to me, even some of these entities and people, and just like take care of them the best I can.
Oh, beautiful.
So well, come along if that's you.
Oh yes, I encourage you all out there,
and we have fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for spending some time, that we finally got a chance to sit down and chit chat.
Yes, we did it.
We did it. Yahoo. I'm so like I said, I just think you're the sweetest thing. And what a joy it is to know you and to be in your aura. I love it. Thank you, everyone who made it to the end of this hour of Conversations with Anne Marie. Thank you, Alexis, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this. And if you ever need anything from me, you find me at AnneMarieTheArtOfHealing.com. Thank you, and see you later. See you soon.
Thank you.